In your pamphlet, go ahead and go to the pages 22 and 23, and we're going to start to learn to do her mouth and her nose. And you're going to want your layout. And from the layout, what we're going to need is G, which is the tip of the nose. We're going to need F, which is the center of the mouth and the width of the center of the mouth. And we're also going to want E, which is the bottom of the bottom lip. So that'll be this area down in here on the face. So taking out a fresh piece of paper, let's go ahead and transfer those now into this upper corner here, keeping in mind that later on you're going to do 3 more of these. So leave some room for yourself. Something else that you're going to want from this is going to be when we found H, which was the width of her chin, and how we found that was using the center of her face. It was half of the mouth this direction and half of the mouth this direction. We want to go ahead and get those dots heading downward and also heading upwards. So here's the guidelines for H going down, and it's 1/2 of the width of the mouth on both sides. And we're going to use these H guidelines for the width of her bottom lip as well as the width of her nose up here. The first thing we want to get is her bottom lip down here touching E. The bottom of her bottom lip is going to be very similar to when you did the lower eyelid. We don't want to connect all the way back out to both sides of the mouth. We just want the bottom part. So you can see here, the bottom of the bottom lip is dark at the bottom and it's pointing back to the corners of the mouth, but it never actually makes the full distance. So what that will look like here on paper is this is E heading towards H on both sides and then starting to corner towards the outside corners of her mouth, but you never make the full distance there. Now, depending on your girl, you might want a little bit of a flat spot at the bottom of her lip. So some girls, this bottom part here feels very straight across, but then other girls, it might feel like it has a continuous curve to it. So for you, this will kind of start to become your style. Do you want your girls to have a continuous curve, or do you want it to have a little bit of a flat spot? So as you practice more mouths and noses, try some different bottom lips. But the important thing is never connect all the way back to the corners of the mouth, or else this will start to look like half of a football or a taco or something. The next thing we want to do is, on women's lips, especially when they're very young, they're really, to get kind of this pouty look, you want to have that little scoop underneath here at the center of the lip. So a mouth isn't just a straight line straight across, or else she's going to look like a robot. You want her to look a little more cutesy and voluptuous lips. And what this is called is like a ribbon. You'll see on these two models that their mouth is actually slightly open. But for first semester, we're not going to worry about trying to learn how to draw teeth and all that and have a mouth slightly open. But we will have these curves here going up and back down. Now, in order to find that, what we can use is a couple very small circles as guidelines. So you can see step 3 here. This is the center of the mouth, and this is the middle part. So it's the center of the face, center of the mouth. So again, here we are, center of the mouth. This is the center of her face. And you're doing a small circle heading upwards. And it's only about half the distance towards the tip of her nose. So it's a fairly small circle. Then for the next step, we're going to do 2 circles below that. But if you'll notice, these circles below the center of the mouth will actually still go slightly above the center of the mouth. Then the last step is following along the center of the mouth. You're going to go up and over this circle and down underneath that circle and back up and over this circle and then connect out to the outer edges. Also, the outer corners should be very dark, and then it's light as you come to the first circle and dark again down here. So again, we're going to start dark and heavy out here. As we come up to the circle, it will get lighter. And then when we go underneath the circle, it will get dark again. And then as you come out to this side, it's dark. Coming back into here, it's lighter. So the reason for doing these 3 circles is just to remind your hand to move from the center of the mouth heading upwards and back down to the center of the mouth and upwards again. After a while, you can just do this fairly quickly without even thinking about it. But for now, as a beginner, put these circles on here as a guide, as a reminder. And also, I want to see those circles to make sure that you understood how this was working. Now, sometimes for the bottom of the bottom lip, there will be kind of a shadow, a little bit of a cast shadow down in here. And I like to really emphasize that cast shadow. Some people even have like a crease on their chin right there. So once you have established the bottom of your bottom lip, you can almost darken this in or almost even throw a slight cast shadow there. And then this part of her lip, the center of the mouth, also would be very dark. So this has a cast shadow and this has a cast shadow. Now that we've established the mouth, you should be wondering, well, what about the upper lip? The problem is if you start drawing upper lips, the question is, should you connect it all the way back, or are you going to draw just half of it? As well, when you start moving into your croquis, and your croquis are very small, if you put an upper lip on here, after a while, it starts to look like your girls have mustaches. So the rule of thumb is for your fashion renderings is you will have a chance to add color for an upper lip and maybe even this little tiny divot here. But you don't need to physically draw one in pencil. So for now, for drawing a mouth, this is it. We have the center of the mouth doing this ribbon shape and the bottom of the bottom lip done. The next thing is we're going to come up here to the tip of the nose. So taking a look at my girl here, the tip of the nose has this similar shape to the bottom of the bottom lip as well as the eyelid, but it's very short and very quick. It also has a similar shape to this part of your upper lip right here. The exact same circles that you're using here, you can use those again at the tip of the nose and heading upwards. And this will remind you that the tip of the nose has a quick corner, just like you had right down here. So here we have tip of the nose, drawing a small circle. The next stage is this small circle that we drew, we want to cut it in half. And as you cut it in half and you come out to H, then you have 2 points here. So this would be step number 6 and 7. And this is where we're establishing your nostrils. So on your girl, it would be right in here and in here. So again, the nostril would be half of the width of your mouth and the same width as your chin. So coming over here, what we just drew, the circle which was going above the tip of the nose, we can split that in half. And then where it's crossing these lines here for H will be your nostril. So go ahead and just draw for now one little circle on both sides. And then we're going to connect those and make an actual nose out of this. So here you can see you're going to have your dot for the nostril, and you're going to curve upwards, similar to doing an ear, and then back down to connect to the tip of the nose and heading upwards on this side as well. So remember when we did the ear and we were heading upwards right away and then back down? That's the same feeling of this. You'll start at this point, head upwards, and then come back down, and you'll get your S turn. So on one side, it will look like the number 2, and the other side, it will look like an S. My shoe just made that sound. Now something that's cute to do is if your nostril doesn't totally connect all the way through to the tip of your nose, so sometimes having one of your nostrils doesn't actually connect also looks cute. It's very similar to when we're doing our tear ducts. You don't want the bottom eyelid to come up and touch the tear ducts. Well, same thing here. I might have one of the nostrils touch here and maybe the other one doesn't touch. The last part is this little flange on the outside. The tricky thing is the flange here, the more you draw this, it will start to look like a little pig's snout, and you don't want that. What we really need is, just like how your bottom lip has a little shadow here and a little shadow there, these nostrils are basically little shadows, and this little outside flange is also more or less just a little shadow underneath there. So when we draw this outside flange, you're just looking for these little tiny C shape, and it's just even half of the C. The location for finding these is the same size circle that you're using here and here is going to go around that nostril. The tip of the nose is here, the center of the nostril is here. When you're making your circle, this circle should be higher than that circle. Once you have those on there, really all we need is just this shadow part here and here. And then in order for you to see this a little bit better, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start erasing these guidelines now that we already have them in place. And it's easier for you to see exactly what we're looking for. So the key thing is just to remember that this flange here should be higher than the tip of the nose. So the tip of the nose is here. Those two little flanges is higher and higher. One last thing you can do to make your nose kind of cutesy is if you want to do a little bit of a line on here. And that's just showing like if light was reflecting on there. Some girls have kind of like a little bit of a button nose, and they might have a little bit of a shadow or something going on. So you can do something like that, and usually I'll choose one side or the other. So for instance, if I have an empty space right here, I did not connect this nostril to the tip, then I might do on this side where there's that little bit of a hook, like a J hook, and then that's giving you kind of this cute little shadow on the nose itself. Later on, when you start coloring these, you'll see where the shadow kind of falls into that place. Also, since we have the nose in place and we can see the space between the center of the mouth and the tip of the nose, if you wanted to do a little divot here, you could, which is just reminding you later for when you start to shade that that's going to be the upper lip area. So these are just secondary options, having this and this. So go ahead and do 3 more and choose a little bit different shape on the bottom lip. Maybe emphasize this ribbon shape even more, and then maybe draw her nostrils just a little bit different. Maybe put this little shadow thing here on the other side. So let's do another one and try and change up a few things, but using all the same rules. Now for your girls, the shape of the lips is mirrored on both sides, but it's always just a slightly uneven on both sides. Very similar to like her ears will be slightly uneven, slightly different on both sides. And so don't be afraid that if you draw a face and maybe one corner of the mouth is a little bit higher than the other one, or the lip is a stitch wider than this one, it's okay if there's very subtle imperfections. But if something is a little bit too off, then go ahead and fix that. So for instance, I'm noticing that this mouth is just, it's too narrow in this area compared to how full it is on this side. Also, I'm noticing on mine, her nostrils are a little bit different. This one's a little more flattened out. This one's poking up a little more. So what I would like to do is just kind of get the same nostril, flatten this one down a little bit. And I think that's good enough. So go ahead and do 4 of these for practice. So at this point, what we've accomplished now is we've learned to draw some eyes, and then the nose and the mouth, and then this is all going to fit back onto your 8 by 5 inch face that you laid out. So obviously you can see these were all the plot marks for where the eyes go, nose and mouth. And inside of your handout, there's a whole bunch of homework. So basically you will have in the box here, it's showing you here's one complete set of eyes. And then as you move down to assignment number 1, here's a set of eyes, but something's missing. So for instance, this does not have eyebrows and eyelashes. So what you would do is, in your book, you would go back to the pages where you're looking for how did you find the eyebrows and how did you make the eyelashes. And also it's showing you here inside this box the pages that you will need in order to complete this assignment. So how I have it laid out is the first one here is only missing a few things, and then the second one is missing more, and the third, fourth, and fifth, as you move along, it's missing more and more stuff. So by the time you get down to the fifth one, it's just showing you the plot marks, and at that point you're drawing the complete eye, eyebrows, eyelashes, and everything. So number 5 should look exactly like this here, as well as number 4 should look like that one there, and so on and so on. When you go to the next page, here it's showing you not only do I want to see the eyes totally complete and finished, but I also want to see all of your guidelines and marks. So again, this is the example of what I should see when you're finished. So on here, all I have provided are the guidelines. So it's up to you to completely start from scratch from here, and you're going to build your points and guidelines and draw the eye as you go. We're going to get all the way down to the last one, which 10 is just a line. So the first thing you need is you need the sides of your faces, and then you need the center of the face. And once you have the center of the face, then you can find the pupil, the outside corner, and the inside corner of each eye. And these are all exactly the same size, so if you need to, you can take your ruler, come down here, find the center of the face, find the outside cheekbones, and then when you start analyzing it, then you can come in here and get your measurements using your pencil. But again, number 10 should look exactly like this up here. So I want to see both your eyes totally complete, as well as I want to see your guidelines. Then moving on inside the handout, there's going to be a series of drawing the lips. So again, inside the box, it's showing you what we should see as a finished product. And you'll notice inside of here, there's still the little circle guidelines, as well as these guidelines here, the H guidelines. So everything you see in this box should be the same on each and every one of these. And again, there's less information on each one. So in this one here, it has everything, but you need to just fill it in pencil. And then the next one, you need to, again, fill in all of these guidelines with your pencil, as well as start drawing the center of the mouth. And you move down to here, you're first drawing your guidelines, all in pencil, then get your bottom lip and center of the mouth, and so on as you go through here. The last one is here's what it should look like when you are complete. So it's going to be a nose and mouth plus all of the guidelines and little circles. Make sure everything is the same size, same measurements, same distances. Then the last part of this assignment is on page 6, you get one more face, and you're going to do the whole thing starting from scratch. So you're going to plot all of your guidelines in here, and then once they're in place, then you're going to go ahead and finish drawing a completed face. So then you'll have your eyes, nose, and mouth along with these guidelines, along with the hairline and the outside edge of the hair. Don't forget your ears. The last part that you should be wondering is, where is the neck on your girl? And basically where the neck is after you've finished drawing your face, then the outside of the iris coming straight down is the outside edge of her neck. So again, then the outside of this iris, following straight down with the center of her face, would be the outside edge of this neck here. Later on in time, when we start developing our full-size croquis, you're going to know where the collarbone is and her trapezius muscles and everything. But for now, we just need to know where does that neck line up, and it's the outside edges of her iris. On your final face, don't draw any hair on there. What there should be is just the hair guidelines and the hairline itself, ears, and then the full face, eyes, nose, mouth, and then now that you know how to get neck, come down here and draw a simple neck going just straight down. The reason we don't want any kind of a hair or anything on here now, stylized hair, is because I want to see all of your marks and dots, and I don't want you to start covering stuff up, and I don't want you to erase anything. Alright, so I'm going to add a nose and mouth to this, and I want to talk a little bit more about adding like a dash for the nose and what to do and not to do. And first, I'll draw this out and we can speed it up to like 300%. Okay, so a couple last things about drawing a face. So when you take a look at a model, you're going to notice that the nose has a lot of structure all built in around here. And one of the biggest mistakes that some new artists will make is they want to draw some kind of a line connecting from the eye all the way back down to this flange. And this is a big mistake that people will make quite often. So they'll do something like drawing a line here and drawing a line there. But you can see that that starts to look really weird after a while. Really what's happening is all of this nose here is shadows. So if you were really sketching and drawing and using pencil and doing all kinds of shading, you would draw a few lines down here, but the rest of this nose would all be shadows. Since we're doing line drawings, we're not doing any shading or shadowing, you wouldn't have any of this information up here. But for some people, like myself, I still feel like I want something to show the nose. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll put in a little dash right there. So you can see here, eventually you're going to color this in. So she's got cheekbones, you're going to color in her upper lip and lower lip, and then you're going to darken in behind her eyes here. And you can throw a little shadow coming down as if it was part of the nose. And you'll do this when you're coloring. So again, here is the croquis drawing. And then for my girl, I just have a little tiny dash right there, and then nothing else. Everything is very, very simple. So here when it's in color, you can see I'm making it darker in this eye area, her cheekbones. I'm getting color on her lips, and I'm just showing a little tiny dash here for the direction her nose is traveling, and that's it. So that's the basics on drawing a face for fashion.